right, y'all, so this is going to be the review for the algebra, the first test you're going to take in geometry. It's going to be just a review over everything that we've done kind of in algebra. We'll skip over a few things, but mostly this is kind of hitting on all the topics from algebra. So this first part says solve, leave answers as fractions, no decimals or mixed numbers. Okay, so number one, I'm going to distribute this 4 first. So that's going to get me 12n plus 20. And then now I need to distribute this -2. So that's going to be minus 4 plus 8n equals 6 minus 2n. Now before I start moving anything around, I need to make sure that I combine like terms, which could be something that we're out of the habit of doing when we haven't done it in a while. So I've got a 12n, I have an 8n, so that's 20n. I have a 20 minus 4, that's 16. And then I still have this stuff on the right side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my n's on the left side. So I'm going to add 2n and move it to the left. Okay, then so I have 22n plus 16 equals 6. Now I'm going to subtract 16 and move it over. So I have 22n equals -10. I'm going to divide by 22. And I'm just going to type that in my calculator just to make sure that I do this correctly and I don't reduce it wrong. So I have -10 divided by 22. And then remember, no decimals, so I'm going to hit math, enter, enter. And it gets me -5/11. Okay, so n here is -5/11. That's for number one. Okay, number two, there's nothing to distribute here, so I'm just going to go ahead and combine like terms. So I have a 3x and a -5x, that's -2x minus 12 equals, and I have like terms over here, I have a 5 and a -9, so that's -4 minus 6x. Now I'm going to start moving things around. Again, I like to start with my x's, so I'm going to add 6x to this side. And that gets me 4x minus 12 equals -4. Now I need to move that 12 over. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So I have 4x equals -2. That's not right. That's not -14. That's -4. So here we go. -4 plus 12 is 8. Y'all are probably like, what is she doing? Now my pen's messing up. So I'm going to divide by 4. And so x comes out to be a really nice number of 2. So x equals 2. Okay, I'm going to delete this, so if you still need that up there, just pause it. And I'm going to go to number 3. Okay, so number 3. This says hint, clear the fractions first. You don't necessarily need to. If you would like to clear the fractions first, you can. You can multiply everything by 6. But we do have calculators, so honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and start with adding 1/6 to both sides. So I have 2/3 x, and then I'm going to do that second part in my calculator, and also to remind you how to do fractions in here. So you can do 7 plus 1/6. You can either put that 1/6 in parentheses and do it this way. Make sure you get it back to a fraction. So it's 43/6. Or you can do 7 plus, and you can do alpha y equals. And you can get that fraction up. And you can do 1/6 that way. So just a little review on how to do that. And it gives you 43/6. Okay, so I have 2/3 x equals 43/6. Another area that sometimes we differ from teacher to teacher is how to get that 2/3 off. You can either divide by 2/3 or you can multiply by the reciprocal. Either way, I already have 43/6 in my calculator, so I'm just going to divide by 2/3 Okay, again, we don't want decimals, so math enter, enter. And we get 43 over 4. So x equals 43 over 4. Okay, number 4, I need to distribute a couple of things. So 2 times 4x is 8x. I do need to distribute this minus sign. Make sure you don't forget that. So that's minus x plus 1 equals 2 minus 2x. Okay, I have 8x minus x, that's 7x, plus 1 equals 2 minus 2x. I'm going to get my x's together on the left side. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Some of you may be able to combine a couple of steps into one right there. If you do, just be careful that you don't mess anything up. Some of you think you can do it in your head, and we end up messing up. I'm going to subtract this 1. So I have 9x equals 1. Divide by 9. And so I get x is equal to 1 over 9. All right, number 5 is where we review horizontal and vertical lines. And so here it just says to graph each line. Notice this is just x equals a number and y equals a number. That means we're going to take into account hoi, vux. Some of you say it backwards, vux, hoi. Either way, doesn't matter. Okay, but if it's x equals, that means I'm dealing with a vertical line. Okay, so if it's x equals -1, I'm going to find -1 on the x-axis, and then I'm going to draw a vertical line. So that's x equals -1. Okay, now I'm going to draw the y line. So if it's y equals just a number, that's going to be a horizontal line. So I'm going to go to the y-axis, find 3, and draw my horizontal line. So that's y equals 3. Remember, anything in y equals you can check. So you could go to your y equals, you can go to y equals, and you can type in y equals 3 and graph it, and you can at least see that that is a horizontal line. Okay, number 6, I need to graph this line, but it is not in y equals yet, so I need to get it there. So I'm going to subtract 3x, move it over to the other side, so that gives me -2y equals -3x plus 12. Now I need to get that -2 out of there, so I'm going to divide by -2. So that gives me y equals, that's a negative divided by a negative, so that's positive 3 over 2x. And then 12 divided by -2 is -6. So that -6 is my y-intercept, that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start at -6. Now notice our slope is positive, so this line needs to be going up. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over 2 this way, or I can go down 1, 2, 3 over 2 this way. Just get 3 or 4 points on there. You don't need a lot. Okay, you remember you can also check that in your y equals, so make sure you do that on the test. Number 7, what is the point of intersection of this graph with the y-axis? So this means we need to find the y-intercept. We can do that easily by getting this into y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to subtract 3x. I'm just moving it over. I'm also going to go ahead and just move this 6, because I can see there's not really anything to combine it with. So I'm just going to go ahead and move it. So this is -2y equals -3x minus 6. Make sure you go all the way through with this and get y by itself. I'm going to divide by -2. And that gives me y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. So my slope is 3 over 2, my y-intercept is 3. So if this says, what is the point of intersection with the y-axis, I could either say 3, or since it's asking for the point, technically I would want to say 0, 3. That's the actual point on the line. Okay, number 8, determine the slope of each line of these next 4. Number 8 is already in y equals mx plus b, so m is -2. That's my slope. Slope of a horizontal line, we're going to think of hoi. And if it's a horizontal line, that O tells me that the slope is 0. Number 10, the slope of a vertical line. So we're going to think about Vux. That U tells me that the slope of a vertical line is undefined. That's why it's so important to know Hooy Vux. Okay, number 11, the line passing through those 2 points. That means I'm going to need to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to have negative 4 minus 3 over 2 minus a negative 2, which is going to change to plus 2. So negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. 2 plus 2 is 4. And there we go. There's my slope of negative 7 over 4. Okay, number 12. Write the equation of the line described. So it says an undefined slope. If it says undefined slope, you should think Hooy Vux. Vux is what we want to think about here. So if it's an undefined slope, that means it's an x equals equation. So I'm going to come over here to this point. I have x and I have y, and I want to see what x equals, and x is 2. So that's going to be x equals 2. Those are the easiest ones and also the hardest ones at the same time because you try to think too much into it. Number 13, slope is negative 3 over 5, passing through the point 5, negative 2. Express answer in point slope form. So reminder about point slope. That's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so I'm just going to plug everything I know in here. So, whoop, that messed up. So I have y minus a negative 2, so that's going to change to plus 2, equals my slope, which is negative 3 over 5, and then x minus my x value, which is 5. Notice this just asked for point slope, which means I'm done. It didn't ask for y equals mx plus b. It didn't ask for standard. That's all I have to do there. Okay, number 14, it says solve each system of equations using elimination or substitution. Answer as an ordered pair. Okay, we are going to use elimination. Both of these are set up to where that's going to be the easiest way, and it's the easiest way anyways. So number 14, remember with elimination, you want to try to eliminate something. Right now, if I add down, nothing's going to eliminate. So you have to choose. Do you want to eliminate x's or do you want to eliminate y's? I'm just going to eliminate x's because 2 is smaller than 3. It just seems easier, which means I need x to be negative 2 to be able to eliminate it. So I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite both of these equations. So that first equation is 2x minus 3y equals 8. And now my second equation is negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 8. And now, if I add down, guess what happens to my x's? They eliminate. Now I have negative 3y plus negative 2y, that's negative 5y. My pen's messing up again. So negative 5y, you can read that, equals 8 plus a negative 8 is 0. Okay, don't freak out with that 0. If I divide by negative 5, that just means y is equal to 0. That's a good thing. That's an easy number to work with. Okay, so now I need to take y and plug it back in. It's going to be easier to plug it into that second equation because they're smaller numbers. So I'm going to have x plus, I'm going to plug 0 in for y, equals 4. Okay, well 0 doesn't matter, so x equals 4. Okay, when it says you can write your answer as an ordered pair, that means just x, y. So as an ordered pair, this would be 4, sorry my pen's messing up again, 4, 0. Okay, number 15, I need to do a little bit more work to this. You have to decide what you want to eliminate. The y's are going to be, well, the x's and the y's are kind of equally as difficult here. I'm just going to choose the x's. The multiple that 5 and 2 have in common is 10, but I need one of these to be 10 and one to be negative 10 so that I can eliminate. So So I'm going to multiply this top equation by 2 and this bottom equation by -5. That way I can eliminate if needed. So here, I'm going to multiply that 2 all the way across. So I have 10x minus 4y equals 6. And then the second equation, I have negative 10x. I'm trying to write with my finger, that doesn't work. Negative 10x minus 35y equals negative 45. And now I'm going to add down. So if I add down, my x's are gone. I have negative 4y minus 35y, that's negative 39y, equals 6 minus 45 is negative 39. Divide by negative 39. So after all those weird numbers, y is just 1. Okay, you would now take that and plug it back in. I'm not going to go through how to do that. Just plug it back in, find the other number. And when you do, you get x is also equal to 1. So if I write this as an ordered pair, it would be 1, 1. Sorry, that was a lot of work. Number 16, write that as a simplified polynomial. Okay, so a reminder, when multiplying, you're going to add exponents. So when I have x times x, that's x cubed. Sorry, x cubed plus x squared times 2 is 2x squared. Now I'm going to do this second part, which is negative 3x times x. That's minus 3x squared. And negative 3x times 2 is minus 6x. Y'all cannot read that because my pen's messing up. So I have, now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have x cubed. 2x squared minus 3x squared is just minus x squared. And then minus 6x. Okay, number 17, we're just multiplying these. Normally we use the process of FOIL here. You may have thought about it as double distributing. So x times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. The inside is minus 3x. And the last is minus 21. Okay, so I have x squared. 7 minus 3 is 4, so that's plus 4x. And then minus 21. Okay, number 18. 2x times 5x, that's 10x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. The inside is minus 5x. And then negative 1 times 3. Make sure you actually multiply that. Is negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 10x squared. 6 minus 5 is just 1. So plus x and then minus 3. 19, you have to be really careful about. You need to make sure that you actually write this as x plus 8 times x plus 8. You cannot take that little 2 and distribute it inside. You will get the wrong answer. So okay, so that's x times x is x squared. X times 8 is 8x. 8 times 8 is 8x. And then 8 times 8, that's 64. So that's x squared plus 16x plus 64. Okay, number 20. Remember, something that's squared means times itself. So that's 2 square root of 3 times 2 square root of 3. We reviewed how to multiply radicals. You need to do outside times outside. 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 3 times square root of 3, that would be square root of 9. If you were to type this in the calculator, it's going to tell you that the answer is 12. That's because the square root of 9 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. That's why it's important for you to check these in your calculator, because that's one that nobody should miss because it comes out to be a nice number. Number 21, 22, and 23, we're going to factor these. So there is no GCF, so I'm going to do A times C So what multiplies to be 18 and adds to be 9? Those two numbers are 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Because that's a positive 3, that's x plus 3. Or you can use a because that's what the problem has. And then x plus 6. You can do the shortcut on all the ones that we give you on geometry. Number 22, there's no GCF. So I need what multiplies to be 16 and adds to be negative 8. This is going to have to be two negative numbers, which is going to be negative 4 and negative 4. Because that's a negative 4, it's b minus 4. The other one's also negative, so that's also b minus 4. Number 23 is a little bit different. This is called a difference of squares. Okay, with the difference of squares, I know one's going to be plus, one's going to be minus. You have to think, what times itself gets you x squared? X times x gets you x squared. And what times itself gets you 81? That would be 9. That's x plus 9, x minus 9. Let me just give you another quick example of one like that. Let's say you have x squared minus 9. Okay, so here, because this is a difference of squares, I know one's plus, one's minus. What times itself gets you x squared? That would be x. What times itself gets you 9? That would be 3. 24 through 26, we're going to simplify. I'm looking for the biggest perfect square that goes into this number. So that would be 9. 9 times 5. Okay, I always like to circle the perfect square, which is 9. I'm going to take the square root of that. Square root of 9 is 3. I'm going to bring that out. And then I'm left with the square root of 5. Remember, you can check these. So I'm going to type in the square root of 45. And then I'm going to type in 3 square root of 5. And they need to match up. Number 25. I'm going to break this 72 down. Remember, you want the biggest perfect square. So 9 is not going to work here because 36 also goes into 72. Just make sure you get the biggest one. I'm going to circle that 36 because that's my perfect square. The square root of 36 is 6, so I'm going to bring that out. But notice you already have this 3 on the outside. Because you already have a number out there, we're going to multiply those. So that's going to be 18 square root of 2. If you accidentally think you need to add those, then type them both in the calculator and check. See which one's right if you're not sure. Number 26, notice again we have a number on the outside. So this 32, that's going to break into 16 times 2. I'm going to bring a 4 out from that 16, but I already have a 5 out there. So 4 times 5 is 20. Square root of 2. And that's it on that one. So again, you can check that. Okay, here we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so use the Pythagorean theorem to find the value of the variable, give exact answers in simplified radical form. So you just need to make sure you identify where your hypotenuse is, because that's going to be your C side. So Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm going to plug in everything that I know here. So I'm going to say that a is 2. So it's 2 squared plus b is 4 squared equals y squared. That's the side we don't know. So 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16 equals y squared. 4 plus 16 is 20 equals y squared. Again, we're trying to find y, which means we need to remove that squared. So I need to take the square root. This is where simplifying radicals, you need to know how to do this, because here I need to simplify. So 20 breaks into 4 times 5. And I'm going to bring out a 2 from the 4th. And that means that side is going to be 2 square root of 5. Number 28, again, you need to identify where your hypotenuse is. That's going to be opposite of your right angle. So that's going to be my C side, the 3 square root of 2. So I'm going to have x squared plus 2 squared equals 3 square root of 2 squared. Make sure you put that in parentheses. If you type it in the calculator without parentheses, you're going to get the wrong answer. So I've got x squared plus 4 equals, if you want to type that part in the calculator, you can, or if you want to go ahead and write it out so you don't mess anything up, you can do that. So I have x squared plus 4 equals, outside times outside would be 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So 2 times 9 is 18. But notice that's a nice number, which means if you type that stuff in the calculator, then it's going to give you an answer of 18, which is nice. So now I'm going to subtract 4. So I have x squared equals 14. I'm going to take the square root of 14. There are no perfect squares that go into that. Therefore, the side that we're missing is just square root of 14. Okay, number 29. Here we get into exponent review. Okay, here I'm dividing, so I'm going to divide these numbers in front and get 8. When you divide, you subtract exponents. So that's 2 minus 1. That's just 1, so x. And then those y's cancel out. So you just get 8x. Number 30, I need to take this little 4 and put it on the 2 and put it on the end. Remember, that's 2 to the 4th power. That's not 2 times 4. And then I would have n to the 4th. So 2 to the 4th power, that's 16 n to the 4th. Number 31, again, I need to take this 2 and distribute it inside. That's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. And then power to a power, I'm going to multiply those. So that's x to the 4th y squared. Number 32 and 33, I'm typing those in the calculator. It's just numbers. You don't want to make the mistake of thinking you know how to do this and then not. So just check it in there. So 32 is -4. And if I type 33 in, it's going to tell me it's 4.